New York Prison Escape, Part 4. Well, the search for the two inmates has ended now with the death of Richard Math and the capture of David Sweat. No word on his condition at this current moment, but he is en route to the hospital. We're going to be listening to CNN's coverage now.
She got out her badge. She was driving her car, and she said, "I'm with the surgery unit." So obviously, we don't know if this is a general shift or if this is someone that was called in, but they let her through and she went driving. But right over my shoulder, you can see right here, these are our first pictures. This is the emergency room, and I think you can just see the car behind me and the lights, and the ambulance is right beyond. As you get into that parking lot, the ambulance has pulled up to the emergency room face front, so obviously the David Sweat was taken out the back and into that medical center. But we're in the town of Malone, and we were headed toward a very small town, that Constable, which is actually 3 miles from the Canadian border. So you can see even here we are close to the Canadian border. But the law enforcement presence here is extremely strong. I also heard they are expecting an open ambulance, which may have nothing to do with this case, but also they did say they are expecting medical equipment to arrive at this medical center here in Malone. Suzanne?
Gary Tuckman just told us, according to a source that he had spoken to, that he does not believe any law enforcement officials were injured in the capture of Sweat. Is that the same thing that you're hearing or seeing? Have you seen any other ambulance arrive, anybody else being transported, taken to this hospital, or anybody else who might have mentioned whether or not there was someone who was injured or shot in his apprehension?
Well, that's very good news that Gary is here. And what I visually saw in the procession that was going at a very high rate of speed with law enforcement officers, and they were coming for the hospital, I did see 2 ambulances. But it doesn't mean the 2 ambulances both had patients in it. They could have taken 2 ambulances to be on the scene to be ready. But there were 2 ambulances that came. There is only 1 ambulance that is pulled up to the back of the emergency room. The other ambulance, and I think we might be able to pan so we can see this. This is an ambulance right over here, and I can't tell you it was the second one in the procession that I saw, but that is very similar to the 2 ambulances that I saw. One is out in the street. One is right up against the emergency room. And as you can see right there, these live pictures can show us the law enforcement presence out in the middle of the street. Law enforcement officer on his walkie-talkie. And that is the officer that I heard say to another, "We are expecting medical equipment to come in here." And these roads are blocked off. There are people from the community that have heard what is happening, so there is a community presence right here standing around, people with their iPhones. This is obviously a moment for this community, too, because they have waited for this moment. They don't have to feel in danger anymore, as they were for the last 3 weeks. I see smiles on some of these people. Can I talk to you for a second? I mean, how do you feel that David Sweat has been captured?
I'll be able to sleep better, be able to sleep with my doors unlocked like I used to.
What has it been like for the last 3 weeks?
It's been hectic. It's been really scary. You don't know what's gonna happen next. You don't know where he is. You don't know his plans are. You don't know what his next move is. You don't know what he's up to. You don't know what he's thinking. You never know.
It's a safer community now. The kids can go back to playing like they used to. It's all about the kids, safety. But that's it. Safety.
1,300 law enforcement were out today to find this one person. How does this community feel about that?
I've seen some of the guys down in Constable. That's where my mother-in-law lives, and they're doing their job. I commend them. They did a great job. The community came together. Pitch in, get them hot coffee, stuff they needed. They're doing what they did an excellent job.
And the procession seemed to be coming from Constable. We're hearing that it's very close to the Canadian border. How close?
About 3 to 5 miles, the most. Like, from where they got them, it's about 3 miles. From what I heard.
Probably like 2 miles from my mom's place.
Yeah.
And then my mom, she's an EMT, and she got a call and she went. But I'm glad that he was found.
So your mother is an EMT, and she got a call saying what?
She was on the bus.
That she was on the bus, and that they found him and that he was down. So she went on the call as an EMT, and I'm pretty sure that she was on the ambulance and that she's here at the hospital with him.
That's the only reason I'm staying outside, because it's cold.
All right. Well, thank you for talking with us, and we're happy for you. You and your children can now be safe. Thank you. So we're right here at the hospital, and as you can see, Suzanne, inside is the person that for 3 weeks there has been a manhunt for. The conditions,
Yeah.
It is raining, it is dark, it is probably some of the worst conditions you could have for a hunt and a search. But the community is elated that they can now feel safe again, and so appreciative to every single one of those 1,300 officers, federal, state, and local level, that captured David Sweat.
Yeah, Gene, I mean, you can see it in her faces. I mean, just in their body language, the relief that they have there that they got the second suspect. I want to bring in former FBI Special Agent Jonathan Gilliam to talk about the fact that he was 2 miles from the Canadian border, just 2 miles south of the Canadian border. You've got 1,300 law enforcement folks who were involved in this manhunt and this search, and he was just...
So we're going to interrupt CNN's coverage right now, as we're learning right now, Sweat is shot 2 miles south of the Canadian border by law enforcement. Now we're going to go to Time Warner Cable News coverage of it now.
Was at that point, just setting that perimeter and kind of not really going in on the action so suddenly.
Well, we don't know what they knew. I'm guessing there were clues to indicate, although we haven't heard, that Sweat was still in the area where they encountered Matt. But at that...
So, breaking news. Multiple law enforcement sources with direct knowledge of the situation tell Time Warner Cable News prison escapee David Sweat has been shot and captured by police in Franklin County. We have no word on Sweat's condition. Stay with Time Warner Cable News for developing information. That is what the information on the bottom of the screen on Time Warner Cable News now. So this whole situation that's been occurring for weeks about the search for the 2 inmates. Again, the first inmate, Richard Matt, has been killed by law enforcement 2 days ago, and they were continuing to look for David Sweat, and then, as we heard now, he has been shot and captured. So, thanks for joining Walrus News Now. Have a nice day. Credits: Caleb Osborne. Some audio was used from CNN and Time Warner Cable News.